Sénégal. Jana tukara basona manga jangale gita do bouger do faywa. Nge elef to tology exam linga sala am the fita mugena. Asure kolos.
Good morning, everyone. How we doing? It's such a good pleasure being back. I hope that everybody's doing well and keeping safe. Today, it's me again. I'm back, Teacher Raisa, and we're going to talk about migration. Migration, not migration, but migration. What is migration? Oftentimes we hear about, oh, I'm migrating to there, to here, but it's simple. Migration is just a human movement. It's a human movement from one place to the other. It's like relocating. It's like going somewhere. You're leaving a particular place to go to another place. That is migration. It is a human movement from one place to another. Oftentimes, the distances are long. There are long distances that we migrate to. And this migration sometimes could be either a permanent migration, a temporary migration, and there are so many reasons why people migrate from one place to the other. And we're going to look at them today. It's important that you know about migration because where we live now, in the situation that we are now, a lot of people are migrating. That is why we have a lot of countries that have different nationalities or different cultures. Why? Because people are either migrating into or immigrating. And migration has 4 categories. We're going to look at them. Number one is internal. Internal migration. What is internal migration? It is people moving from one place to the other, either in the same state, the same province, the same country, or the same continent. That is internal. For example, I left Cameroon to Senegal. I did an internal migration. That was a long distance anyway. And so I moved from Cameroon to Senegal. That is internal migration. What about external? No, that is internal. That's not that, because it's the same continent. What about external? What about external migration? External migration is someone that is moving into another country, into another state, into another continent. That is external. So internal is moving within the same state, moving within the same country, moving within the same continent. External is moving into a different state, moving into a different country, moving into a different continent. That is external. And then we have what we called air. Please take note, it is air and not E. It is emigration. What is emigration? Emigration means you're moving out. That is immigration. You're moving out into another country. And then you have what we often see and then we have E. So this is E and this is E. Emigration. Emigration is that you are leaving one country to the other. That is That is emigration. That you're leaving one country to move to another. It's You are exiting. You're leaving one country to go to another. You are exiting. Whereas E is like in. You're coming into a country. You're coming into a country or a state. That is immigration. You're going in, and this is you are exiting. So these are the four different groups. I told us internal is moving within. It's moving within the same state, country, or continent. External is moving into a different state, country, or continent. And then emigration is moving out of a country, to another country. And then immigration is moving into a country. Or a different country. So these are the four groups of migration. And we want to find out, what is it? What are the reasons for migration? Migration is usually, there are a couple of reasons that we can find. There are two reasons why people migrate, either for social reasons or for economic reasons. And social reasons, what are some of the social reasons why people migrate? Either because of water, electricity, food, good roads, good weather. Those are the social reasons. What about economic reasons? Because of jobs, the lack of good jobs, labor. Those are economic reasons why people move. And these movements are often from the rural to urban. So we call them sometimes the rural exodus. You can either say it's a rural exodus. Exodus is a biblical word. It's one of the Bible's Old Testament chapters, Old Testament books, one of the Old Testament books in the Bible. Exodus means the going out. You're going out. So rural exodus means rural. It could be the suburbs, it could be the countryside, it could be the village, but it's the rural into the urban. And the urban is city life, town life, city life, town life, city, town, that's urban. So why do people move from rural to urban? I told us there are two reasons. It could either be because of social reasons, because of either social or economic. Social or economic. And what are the social? It could be amenities like because of water, electricity, good weather, like the climate, food, good roads. These are some of them. It's telephone, it could be because of the telephone or internet connections, Wi-Fi. It could be because of telephone or Wi-Fi presence. And economic reasons, good labor, a demand for labor. It could be because of work reasons. It could even be because of marriage. So these are some of the reasons. Because of water, because we know that in rural areas they have scarcity of water, scarcity of electricity. Sometimes you don't even have Wi-Fi or internet or telephone to connect to like we do nowadays with WhatsApp and LinkedIn and all that. Rural areas oftentimes don't have it. And then of course you have the climate. Probably it's cooler here, less mosquitoes, less flies, just because it's cleaner in the urban, or it's supposed to be cleaner in the urban. And then of course we have good roads, because then you have in urban areas, you have tall buildings, good facilities, roads are clean, things are being taken care of like they're supposed to be. And so therefore the urban areas are much more better. So the breathing or the air is much more cleaner, because we feel that it's an urban area. And then of course, we have better education. What about economic reasons? Economic reasons, labor. Because often, there's certain jobs that the rural people probably want to do, and people are looking for them here to have a lot of labor at a cheaper rate. So they know that urban areas will want labor, and so they have labor. And of course, for work reasons, people will want to migrate, or a rural flight, like they call it, to urban areas. And so migration is often from rural to urban, which is often called rural exodus or rural flight. Or you can say rural flight, or rural flight. A flight, because you're moving. They're moving. And it's important because oftentimes the main reasons are because of either marriage, where people leave the urban to come get a spouse, in the village or in the rural areas, and I want to take them over to the urban area, or because of a job, or because I found a better job or better job opportunities in the urban area, and so they migrate. Or it could be for educational wise, they want to go further to school or the education, and they feel like in the urban areas they have better schools, better specialties, better care, and so they leave the rural to the urban. But then when they move, this migration, is it advantageous or disadvantageous? Yes, to a certain degree it's advantageous. Why? Because the labor force, now the employers, they see that they have a high demand, there are a lot of people applying for a particular job, they can easily take cheap labor. Why is it cheap? Because it will probably pay less, because these people are from the village or from the rural areas, and they're probably going to work harder, and they're desperate, and so they feel like it's either you take it or not. So the employers are kind of gaining on that. But then the government, it becomes now too much, because then they have to take care of these people that are moving from the rural to the urban. Therefore, the urban becomes centralized, it becomes overcrowded, it becomes stuffed, because a lot of people are moving from the rural and coming to the urban, and sometimes they don't even follow the rules. So this overcrowding becomes a negative aspect, about it. But then another part is the people from the rural, they come in and they get developed. They get trained, they get developed, they get civilized per se, and so I think it's a good thing. They get to have jobs. And one of the reasons that people leave the rural, they say, oh well, because it's overcrowded in the village, because it's overcrowded in the suburbs, because of the high fertility rate, because when people have so much birth, then the village becomes so crowded, and so there are like 1,000 people for just a particular job. So after a while, the labor, there's excess labor, but fewer jobs to contain them. And so therefore, the fewer people will turn to go to the urban area, because they want to go work, because they want to go look for other jobs or other things, or things that are not even in the urban or in the rural places, So the solution, what do you think the solution would be? What do you think, what should we do in order, to have them stay put? What should we do to stop or to curb the rural migration, or the rural exodus, or the rural flight? What do we do about it? Well, I think the government should look into it. I think the government should be able to fix the roads, to ameliorate the conditions over there, to create more jobs, continual jobs, so that the children or the citizens over there might be able to reform themselves and get professionalized. That is one of the reasons. So it's important that you know about migration, because nowadays we see a lot of people doing external migration. They're moving into a different country, like for example from Africa to Europe, or from Africa to the States, or from Asia to America. That's all about migration, and and when you get into it, that's already immigration. That's why you hear a lot of people, a lot of Western world talking about, oh, immigration. You know, I'm an immigrant because I came into the country, because I am into a different country. I left my country and I'm into a different country. And so me leaving my country, I become an immigrant, and I come into a different country, I become an immigrant. And so these are the explanations about immigration. You have to know, because it's important. And so we know that when an urban area becomes overcrowded, of course, you know, it creates now a lot of pollution, and you know, sometimes there's a high level of insecurity sometimes, because then people would turn to maybe be delinquent, because at the end of the day, they don't have a lot of jobs, and so the country becomes, the urban areas of the city become so crowded that they have a crime rate, and they have a delinquency, and so they have sometimes even lots of dropouts, because these people are come with expectations, and yet if the expectations are not met, they turn to plan B. So this is about immigration, human immigration, because immigration is about human. It's rural, from rural to urban. It's about development. It's about how people move from place to place. I hope that you'll be able to understand.
Jana